keep my money in two different categories. One is real estate, which is majority of his money. And two is a war chest to make sure that he's ready to transact when another deal comes up. So I grew up in West Windsor. I went to the College of New Jersey. I studied marketing there. I didn't do too much studying, but that's where I went. Throughout college, I was in real estate. So I got my real estate license when I was 18, turning 19, and worked throughout college. So now, I've been selling houses. I've been doing so through college. And now I continue to work as a realtor. So I initially opened up to the concept of investing because right when I got into college, and started really ramping up my real estate business. The first thing I actually ever wanted to do was buy a Rolex. That was like my dream to ever do. And unfortunately, my dad didn't quite agree with what I wanted to spend my money on. So we were actually sitting in the pool and we were hanging out with a couple of my friends, my parents' friends, that are pretty well-to-do. And they were saying that why the heck would you ever spend all your money on a materialistic item when you put your money in the market, watch it grow. So I think I was 19 when I made my first contribution to my Roth IRA. At the time you could put in $5,500. And he said, if you start doing that every single year, rather than buying a Rolex, you're gonna be way wealthier when you get older. So that's actually what started investing. Then when I went off to college, when I went to TCNJ, as a student and renting from these landlords, I started to see what these people were making. I mean, it was a relatively depressed area. Prices were low, and rent rolls were super high with respect to their purchase price. So I kind of, being in the business, I had a bunch of different clients that were looking to actually invest. And the first client I ran into was this gentleman named Lixon Fan. And so I actually met him at a flip property that one of my other investors had just purchased in a development in West Windsor called Princeton Chase. So he came in and he said, hey, John, I'd really like to invest, where should I invest, etc. And I said, college houses would be a great idea. So I brought him out and, I started to explain to him the numbers. We started to, walk through the entire model and everything he could do with it. And he started buying these things like left and right. Everything we looked at, immediately he was making offers. And that turned into 6 or 7 transactions with him. I actually talked to a few other of my investors. And so by the time I actually started buying in Ewing, I had already sold 25. So I started to see how these people were making money, how they were performing, the issues they were running into. And so I was able to intelligently spend my money and actually make sure I'm not running into the same mistakes that they were. And so once I got to a point where, I was a little bit nervous to begin with because, it was initially a large amount of money versus my income at the time. So I went to my friends and I said, look, if we come together and we start buying houses, you're reducing your risk across 3 parties, me and 2 other of my friends. You're also, I've always been a big advocate of using other people's skill sets. I'm good at what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. So I find other people that are really good and complement my skill set. So we went into it and, Sagar and Eric are phenomenal with respect to accounting, finance, keeping track of all the books, but I was able to find deals. I knew where to look. I knew who my demographic was. And I knew how to get the places rented because I went to school. I knew everybody. So that made it easy to scale up. That's when I really started to be interested in investing in real estate. So there's actually somebody, one of my friend's parents growing up that I would always talk to, that I always looked up to, I always admired. And he always invested all of his money into real estate. What he told me was, basically in the, I believe it was the early 80s, he found opportunity in Brooklyn and he continued to buy. And he knew it was a good idea. He kept his head down, regardless of what everybody said. And he kept buying. He kept going, and he scaled it. And so what he said was, I keep my money in 2 different categories. One is real estate, which is majority of his money. And 2 is a war chest to make sure that he's ready to transact when another deal comes up. Nothing in the stock market because he knows real estate so well. And so I started to actually think about it. I said, because once I got into college and once I started to build up my career and started to make a little bit of money, a lot of my friends who were starting to get internships at financial advisory firms, they started to say, hey, can we sit down? Can we get you into life insurance, get you into investing, etc. And the one thing I never understood is why I'm going to pay somebody to invest my money when I can essentially pay myself as a realtor to buy these houses and help scale it. I'm in control of my money. I know where I'm investing, and I have complete control over my financial freedom moving forward.